Hey, I'm a Spooky Goose, and today I'm going to be having a look at debunking this video. But first I feel like I need to address the elephant in the room. While I was away on my long slumber, I was possessed by the spirit of a person with a much worse voice. You can't disprove that, you can't debunk it, don't even try. One more thing before the debunk begins is that when I started recording this audio, I was reading verbatim from a script, and eventually I kind of noticed that it kind of sounded a little bit stilted, a little bit like I was reading from a script. So there comes a part in the video, and you'll probably notice it, where I give up reading from that script and I look at it, I get an idea of what it was I was meant to be saying, and then I just make something up that makes that same point. So you may find that a little bit jarring when it happens. I apologize. I will in future try to keep one style, at least per video. With all of that out of the way, here's the debunk, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's get straight into it by looking at the evidence that was captured. The majority of this was captured in their initial video, and that's what we'll primarily be focusing on, but we will be using supplemental information from a second video that was released more recently. I originally planned to include a lot of their footage here to give the best context for what it is they experienced, but in the end it ended up taking a little too long. If you want the full context, please go to their channel and watch it. It's all available there.
Whoa, fuck. Something just fucking moved in the kitchen, man, when I went in there.
Say again?
Something just moved in the kitchen.
Really?
Yeah.
Put your camera back on.
God. Right, guys, I just turned my camera back on. I just come down to get my other camera just to do some B-roll. Walking in here. You didn't move this, did you?
No.
This beige thing.
No.
As soon as I came in here, man, that beige thing fucking moved. Okay, guys, so I have decided to break everything down. Now, I got home last night after the investigation, opened everything up, and thinking I would be able to go through this and find a reasonable explanation for what's happened on the investigation. But the more I delve into it, the weirder it got, and I can't seem to explain what's happened here. We'll have a look at the chair orientation here. So this is the orientation of the chair at the start. As you can see, it's kind of in line with this the crack in the cupboard there, like probably spilling over into the next one. Now, if I move this cursor over to my other marker at the end of the investigation here and select my camera and pull the video screen back across, now you can see it's moved to the left there a good, what, 5, 6, 7 inches. Now we hadn't touched this chair at all for the whole investigation. So I thought it was the beige sheet that had moved when I walked into the kitchen, but on further inspection, you know, the whole chair shifted. To the locked off camera in the kitchen. And kind of from here to here, this is where we're outside. We're not even in the building. So if you look here now, when I'm going forward and back, see, this is over the space of like 8-9 minutes. Can you notice anything here with this? The chair's moving, isn't it? So if we go back here, this is me setting up the locked off camera. We're talking. It's gone silent, we're outside. If I go forward another like 9 minutes, that's us getting back in. But this little gap in between here, can see it moving, right? So there's something putting pressure on that chair, making it move. It's not actually moving left and right. It's actually just over the space of 8-9 minutes. It's moving very, very slowly from from left to right as we're looking at it. So something was putting pressure on it. What, we don't know.
First off, we'll take a look at the sideways movement of the chair. While it was a little unclear in the first video, it becomes clearer in the second that Mike believes the chair moved a long distance in an unnatural way, and he can't figure out how it happened. He believes that the chair moved parallel to the cabinet in a way that its wheels would not easily allow. So, something like this. The only evidence presented that shows this may have happened are these two screenshots, one taken from before the event and one taken from after. At first glance, this looks pretty compelling, but there are issues with this that I spotted in the first video. The position and angle of the camera is different in the before and after shots. This makes it more difficult to evaluate whether an object has moved, as small changes in perspective can have a huge impact on where we perceive an object to be in relation to others. In this demonstration, the wheelchair appears to be overlapping the last cabinet door on the right, but if the camera is moved slightly to the right, it now appears to be a considerable distance from it. So there's the potential for this to be a change in the position and perspective of the camera, rather than a change to the location of the chair itself. I think there's likely to be other elements in play here, other photographic elements as well. You can see that the image quality in the before shot is quite low. You can see that some of the objects seem to kind of merge together. It's hard to distinguish this item on the right from the chair itself. You can also see that the shadow up here is something's going on there, because that's not the shape of the actual chair arm. I believe a lot of this is shadow from the object above. The more that I look at these shadows, the more confusing they get. I think they're creating the illusion that the chair is facing much further to the right than it truly is. Look at this silver bit. The chair arm connects to this silver bit and it extends forwards from it, but you can't see it doing that in this shot. So what I think you have is the combination of two shadows. You have the shadow from the object on top of the chair being cast down, and then I think below that you also have the shadow of the chair arm itself being cast here. But what I think you don't see is the chair arm going forwards like this. And it's creating a very confusing perspective. Here's a still from the second video where you can get a little bit of a better look at where the chair arm comes from and how thin it is. You can see that it extends from this silver bracket. So that's where the chair arm originates from. It isn't further up like the shadow might suggest. The problem is, though, that I'm not a mathematician and I'm not a photographer. I can't do the mathematics required to verify what it is I believe happened. But there are other positional context clues that are hiding in plain sight. Take a look at the chair to the left and its position relative to our target chair. Those wheels look suspiciously close together. When I look at the before screenshot and when I look at the after screenshot, I don't see a substantial difference in the distance between these wheels. So that begs the question, if the left-hand side of the chair hasn't moved, then how has the right-hand side moved? While it is physically possible for this chair to fold up for storage purposes, so it is possible for the wheels to get closer together, I don't believe that happened, and here's why. While watching their second video, it became clear that there'd been another object hiding in plain sight all along. Here's the before screenshot again. If you look carefully at the bottom right hand corner, you might be able to see a dark object resting on the floor next to one of the wheelchair's wheels. I think when I originally saw this in the screenshot, I discounted it as being just another plastic bag on the floor. It's in the second video where we get a really good look at what this object actually is. It's the arm of another wheelchair detached and laying on the floor. Let's compare the position of the chair arm in the before screenshot with the position of the chair arm in the second video. The positions are almost, if not entirely, identical. So I feel like there's strong evidence pointing towards neither of the back wheels of the wheelchair having moved. Is there any other evidence that points towards this? So I feel like Adrian did a pretty good job explaining this one himself during the second video, so I'll let him take it away.
So that was like that. So I've just put the cupboard door, because when I moved it, the cupboard door shut.
Right.
So now I've just opened the cupboard door up again and put it on there. So if it does move,
Yeah.
look, if I just go like that, that cupboard door shuts really easy.
Right.
So there.
But will that cupboard door move the chair? Because of the pressure of the door trying to close?
No, it won't. But don't forget it moved this way last time. But I understand what you're saying. But no, it just kind of wedges on there. So
Okay.
if for some reason it moves that way, that cupboard door will shut.
Right. So you've set up a trap?
And it can't really move any further this way because of the cupboard door.
Yeah. But it is easier to move than we thought.
Yeah,
because it's quite light at the front, isn't
It's
it?
definitely easier to move. And what I'm thinking is, where we've just come in, obviously I've touched it now, but before I touched it, like I say, this was resting on that cupboard door.
Right.
So how, if it was over that way and has come over this way, why was the cupboard open if it wasn't already resting on it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if I move it like this, look how slight that is.
And that was how the door was set up on it
And
the
that,
whole
yeah.
time?
Well, when we've just come in, it was, yeah. I can't remember about last time.
Well, that cupboard door was open last time
Yeah, yeah.
for the whole investigation.
So I don't understand how. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How it's moved.
But I mean, it still doesn't explain why.
So I remember watching the premiere of this on YouTube and being almost comically frustrated with what I was seeing and hearing, and not in a mean way. It was just funny. It was funny to me how frustratingly close they were to figuring it out. Adrian is laying down these breadcrumbs for Mike to follow, and he just refuses to follow them. So in case you missed what Adrian is saying, Adrian is looking at this cupboard door which is open, and it's being held open by the wheelchair. If that wheelchair is moved out of the way, the cupboard door closes. And if we follow that through to its logical conclusion, what it means is that if the wheelchair was several inches to the right at the start of the investigation, it would mean the cupboard door would be closed because there would be nothing to hold it open. And we can see in the before and after screenshots that the cupboard door is always open. Therefore, the chair was always as far to the left as it was. It never moved further to the left. So if the chair never moved that night, at least not in a substantial way, what did Mike experience when he went back into the kitchen? This is just going to be some speculation based on the other available evidence. What is that evidence? There is a noise picked up on a microphone. There is Mike's eyewitness testimony that he believes he saw the material perched on top of this wheelchair move, and there is a slight rotation of the wheelchair picked up on a static camera. And I believe there's one additional piece of evidence captured on the second night, that goes a long way to explaining all of this. It's the mice. The mice did it. Well, maybe. I think it's likely that when Mike and Adrian went outside to vape, they left the property empty for 10 or so minutes, giving the rodents inside enough time to feel safe and enough time to venture out of their hiding places. Perhaps one was adventuring on the chair, and as Mike returned to the kitchen, he startled it, causing it to jump off of the chair, moving the material, and perhaps it jumped into the open cupboard, making the noise that we heard. I think it's also plausible that the rodents could have caused the rotation of the chair. It's a very minimal rotation of the chair. Wheelchairs are designed to move very easily. You can see that when Adrian manipulates the wheelchair in the second video, that it moves very freely. It isn't seized up. You can also see that the front right wheel of the wheelchair, which is the one that would have to be moving in order to get the rotation that we see in the video, is pointed in the exact direction that it would need to be to get optimum movement, to offer the least resistance. The front left wheel is also off of the ground, meaning that it offers no resistance. The fact that it's pointing forward has no impact on the movement of the chair because it isn't touching the ground. And if the wheels of this chair are positioned and orientated in a way that makes this kind of movement incredibly easy, then anything in that environment could be causing this movement. It could be changes in humidity, temperature, air pressure, anything that just happens over the course of a day, or changes that have been introduced by having two living human beings in that property. What do I think the takeaway from this video should be? One, I think asking for help is what you should do when you don't understand something. So I applaud Mike and Adrian for putting this footage out there and saying, we don't get what it is. We don't understand. I don't think it's fake at all. There's nothing in this that suggests to me that it's been faked in any way. I think it's just misunderstood evidence. And misunderstanding something is absolutely fine. There's no problem with that. The other thing that I think Mike should take away from this is that he didn't miss anything by turning his camera off. I know he's said a few times during the videos that if only I didn't turn the camera off, if only I left the camera running, I would have caught this. But I think the only thing you would have captured if he left his camera recording is footage to help himself debunk what he believed he saw. And I think missing that footage allowed him to see things in the editing process that weren't necessarily true to reality. Another thing that I think they did really well is going back to the same location so soon after the event. They went back really quickly and they filmed everything in good lighting conditions. They took a look at the objects around the room. They took a look at the wheelchair. They moved the wheelchair around to see how easily it moved. They found the cupboard door. They did a whole bunch of stuff that I used in order to make this video. They also found the mice. Without finding the mice, there would have just been more speculation about, well, maybe there are rodents there, maybe there aren't. We know for sure there definitely are. And I think that's just a really good thing. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate that. I realise that the change of voice might have been a little bit jarring to some people, but if you made it to the end, I appreciate that. Making this video has been a tough process. Everything always takes a little bit longer than I think it should, or expect it to. But yeah, I've enjoyed making this, and I realise the audio is a little bit all over the shop on this one. Some things were a little bit soft, some things were a little bit hard. I think there's one take that I did where it sounds like I might have fallen asleep while doing it. I didn't, but it is what it is. Hopefully you enjoyed the content, if not the narration, but I appreciate it, and have a great day.